What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Phightin Words. Anthony Sanfilippo is here. I'm Bob Wankel. Anthony, I told you last week, I've said it a few times now, I have no idea what I'm looking at when I watch this team, and that was proven to be true. I know that's not a ringing endorsement for why you should listen to this show, but I'm just keeping it real with everyone. I have no idea what I'm looking at. I thought that the Phillies were going to do what they always do when they go to Pittsburgh, which is lose a series. And instead, they break out the brooms, 3-game sweep. Probably the most impressive 3 games they've played consecutively all season. Fireworks and drama on Friday night. Insanely good pitching from Cristopher Sanchez and Zack on Saturday and Sunday. They beat Paul Skeens. They're playing good defense, timely hitting, grinding out at bats. What the hell is going on here? And they're over 500.
It technically is 3 weeks, right? Since they were 9-19. But if you remember, there was an off day, and then the Tuesday is when they started this run under, in the Don Mattingly era. So it's actually in 19 days they swung their record by 11 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty incredible when you think about it. Like, teams just don't do what the Phillies have just done. They just don't.
Per Elias, I'm glad that you brought this up. The Phillies are the first team to go from 10-plus games under to over 500 within their first 47 games of the season since the 01 Athletics. It's only been done 4 other times.
Yeah.
I mean, to have this type of turnaround, we always talk about 22 and how, Girardi's out, Thompson's in, they go on this crazy run, get themselves back, and we're like, well, look, are they going to do that again? What's the likelihood that the Phillies could do that again? And not only have they done it again, but they've done it to an even more extreme degree. Just truly amazing. And it's all phases. This offense is still inconsistent. We still have concerns about it, and I want to talk about it. I have a ton of numbers today. I really tried to prepare for this show to get my credibility back because, man, I had some bad takes last week, and I had some bad takes online too, and I want to mention that. But it's everything. It's defense. It's the pitching. It's just been an incredible turnaround, and we can talk about the schedule. But they've also played some teams here that have a little bit of punch, too. Like this Pirates team have been playing good baseball, and they just went in there this weekend and dusted them.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's interesting. You mentioned that historical reference to the A's. There's a lot of similarities between that A's team and this Phillies team. When you look at it, that A's team, they started 8-18. The Phillies started 9-19. The A's then got back to 23-22. Phillies are 24-23. So it's almost identical times of the season. That A's team went on to win 102 games, which is fascinating that you start 8-18 and you win 102 games. And that team was buoyed by starting pitching. Mark Mulder and Tim Hudson were in top 5 Cy Young. And then you had like Barry Zito pitched really well for that team. So you had a good rotation. They had a good bullpen. This was the beginning of Moneyball, right? I mean, that's what, if you remember the Moneyball movie. But they also had some guys who were hitting home runs that were driving them. It was like the Miguel Tejadas and the Jason Giambis of the world. I even think Eric Chavez had a really good year for them that year, whatever. But the rest of their lineup wasn't great. It was just mediocre. So it's very similar to what the Phillies are going through right now. It's almost like 25 years later, history's repeating itself. Now, you don't want the ending that A's team had. They lost a 5-game playoff series in the first round, right? So you don't want that ending.
It's familiar.
Right? It sounds very familiar. But you do almost want to have the success, the regular season success that team had. And there's a thought that maybe there's a chance that this team could, keep doing this going forward. This isn't just like a hot run. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're going to win 15 of 20 every 20 games,
sure.
But that this team is figured out what they need to do to be a team that can be a 90-win team going forward.
Yeah, and look, you have guys that have made incremental progress here in recent weeks. Alec Bohm has been a lot better. We'll talk about that. Bryce Stott, it's not linear, his progression, but slowly but surely the numbers are starting to creep back up to, I won't say respectability, but like not insanely poor. The bullpen is starting to be a little bit more consistent. But this team is buoyed by its stars. I mean, their 4 best players are simply outrageous right now between Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Zack and Cristopher Sanchez. And Obviously, these guys are not going to perform at this level all year, I don't think. But, I mean, what you're getting out of them right now has truly powered this resurgence. And I will say, I mean, Friday night, they go down big early, and they spent the middle innings of that game. If you look at the win probability per StatCast, the Pirates had a 95-plus win probability from the third through the eighth innings of that game. And even going into the ninth, I mean, the Phillies were in deep trouble, and they found their way back, and it was by far their most entertaining and maybe their best win of the year, certainly their most improbable win of the year. But I got myself into trouble a little bit on Friday night. I felt like I knew what I was going to see this weekend, which is Pittsburgh has some good young arms. Obviously, you're going to see Skeens on Sunday. We talked about Ashcraft on Friday night, having a really good start to the year. Bubba Chandler's just kind of a guy. He walks so many guys, but like there's talent there.
Yeah.
And I just figured this was a cool down spot for the Phillies. So when they fall behind early, I go, man, like this is just so like, it's so tired. It's so boring. There's no energy. And I tweeted out something to the effect of, man, like the Phillies ultimately may finish. And thank God I at least prefaced it by saying this. The Phillies may ultimately finish with a better record than the Pirates, but watching a younger, hungry team with like a little bit of juice is startling in comparison to this Phillies team, which, you know, sort of sleepwalks its way through games most of the time. And it's like an acknowledgement that I think ultimately the Phillies are better than the Pirates, but like, God, like, just like, come on, they look like zombies. And it was like that tweet triggered something within the Phillies. They just went nuts and they really locked in and they played great baseball. And my tweet was, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about my tweet for the duration of this show, but I ended up deleting the tweet because the response it got, I can handle like the freezing cold takes, like responses and the like, are you sure about that? And like this aged like stale meat. And like, that's fine. Like I get it. Yeah. Like when you put out hot takes on Twitter and you end up looking like an idiot, you're going to get it a little bit. But isn't it crazy? Like, you know this, you just went through this with the Flyers. Like people get like nasty. And like, not to me, I don't even care. You want to say something to me, that's fine. Like I can wear that. I ended up deleting the tweet though, because within the comments, it got like vile. Like people like defending the Phillies, people crushing the Phillies, people cursing at each other, like effing each other. Like, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, it's a baseball game in the middle of May. Like, I'm out. And I just took the tweet down because I didn't want to see any more interaction. Like, it was insane. I'm like, this was like the first weekend where I was like, I don't know if I want to do Twitter anymore. This is brutal.
Yeah, it's a toxic.
I don't fancy myself to be a soft guy either, but like just the responses in between other fans, I was like, I don't want to be the springboard for this.
They're freaking worst. It's the worst. But first of all, I want to say this. I am very, very glad that the Wankel reverse mush
was able to make it out to the public.
Is there now. It's public now because it's happened so many times in my text exchange that it's now
service to the people. You know, It's like just trying to help out, trying to do this last push over 500. I felt like I needed to break it out. But that's the thing. So like, there's so many different things that you can talk about with this team, and I want to stay positive. You know, we've talked about through this run about like, hey, you know, are they all the way back? Probably not. There's still a lot of red flags. I do want to talk about Aaron Nola. Let's push that a little bit, though, because I think that this team deserves it.
There are two recent red flags. He's one, and J.T. Realmuto's another.
Yeah, but I want to try to, you know, represent what we're seeing in this moment. There's a lot to feel good about, and you know, I will say this. I texted you this yesterday, and I agree with your response, but I feel like I need to bring this to the show.
Yeah,
you know who I thought had a really good weekend? Kevin Long. Because every time that this team goes through a stretch, everyone wants to fire the hitting coach. And your response to me was, it probably was never Kevin Long's fault. And I'm also not going to gas up Kevin Long now that they've had a good weekend here. And I said, I totally get that. But I think that it's important to point out that when you want to fire a hitting coach because these guys are all underperforming, this and that, you look at what they were able to do this weekend. You know, they come back against a good arm on Friday night. They were relentless. They had good approaches. They had a game plan. Saturday, same thing. And then yesterday against Paul Skeens. You look at what Paul Skeens has been able to do this season after that opening day start against the Mets. Basically, since O'Neal Cruz has been able to catch a fly ball in center field, Paul Skeens has been untouchable. And they had a plan. Now, like, I know the early innings didn't go well, but they grinded out at bats. They ran up the pitch count. They hit well situationally. They put the ball in play when they had to. They had some big swings that did damage. Like, it's all been there. And like, I'm not sitting here and saying that Kevin Long is the best hitting coach in baseball and that like everyone owes him an apology. I'm not saying that. But I think that when you look at the way that they approached this weekend, I just feel that it warrants acknowledgement that like, hey, maybe this guy's not a complete idiot. He's not a big dumb dipshit. And like, maybe they actually have a plan here sometimes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you in this phase of it, right? Like I told you I don't go one way or the other with coaches, like hitting coaches, especially. When you're talking about assistant coaches, whatever, other than football, if a coordinator's calling plays, that's the only time I look at an assistant coach and say we should have some kind of like real thought on them. I think assistant coaches are just assistant coaches. They're just there to kind of work with guys and help them through whatever they're going through or whatever, right? That's just what their role is. But where I will agree with you is that there is silence about Kevin Long when things are going well. And people are, I don't know if they're afraid or they don't want to say it or just want to say, oh, well, where are all the Kevin Long haters now? Like you don't get to see a lot of that.
I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not trying to say like, awfully quiet, Kevin Long. I'm not waving my pom-poms for the guy. I just think it's fair to acknowledge that, like, hey, you have a DH right now that's, as I noted last week, on pace to set the all-time home run record for non-steroid users. Like, and he's a big Kevin Long guy. Does Kevin Long get any credit for that? You have Bryce Harper, who's a huge Kevin Long guy, who right now is top 4 in MVP consideration, having a resurgent year. Like, does Kevin Long get any credit for that? Because he's certainly going to take a lot of crap when Bryson Stott doesn't evolve. He's certainly going to take a lot of crap for Trey Turner's shitty season. So, like, I just think it's fair to point out that, like, this is not an all or nothing proposition, as you said.
Right. And that's the thing. And, look at Brandon Marsh, right? Like, I mean, does he get any credit for the season Brandon Marsh is having? And even Brandon Marsh is even hitting, I think, like 258 against left-handers now this year. Like, it's not terrible. I mean, this season, it's a small sample, but whatever. Like, does he get any credit for that too? And I'm with you on that, Bob. Like, I think that it's always going to be somewhere in the middle, right? It's never going to be either of the extremes, no matter what the case might be. It's always going to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that, Kevin Long, for what it's worth, people like him around baseball. They like him. They like him as a hitting coach. Teams wanted to hire him. The Phillies had to give him a new contract this offseason because there was interest from 10 teams apparently around baseball and trying to woo him out of Philadelphia. It says something. Like, to me, that says something. Sure. And, does it say that he's the best hitting coach in baseball? I have no idea. I have no idea if he's the best hitting coach in baseball. But it does say to me that he has a little bit of gravitas in this sport, and players want to work with him. When players are struggling at the plate, don't blame the hitting coach. Blame the player. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and the numbers move, and they move fast. I mean, we talked on Friday, and we noted how bad this offense has been as a whole. I mean, they were the 4th lowest scoring offense in baseball before play this weekend, and we're past a quarter of the way in the season. So to move this much in 3 games, I think is fairly significant. They're 20th now. They're up from 4 runs a game flat to 4.23 after this weekend. And like, they're kind of climbing their way back up to where you'd expect them to be. And I don't love when baseball guys just say, like, look at the back of the baseball card. It's all going to come out over 162. But you do see, like, I don't think anyone thought this was a bottom 5 offense. Like, does anyone think it's an elite offense? No. Do we all see the warts of this offense? Absolutely. But this whole, like, this idea that this is one of the 3, 4, or 5 worst offenses in sport, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around that.
Yeah, no, it is. And look, I got to give credit to guys who we've killed so far this season, right? Like, they've had good weekends, good weeks, really. I mean, but good weekends especially. And that's your Bohms and your Stotts of the world. Like, they came through.
Yeah.
Yeah, offensively and defense. I mean, Bohm was sensational defensively at third base. He
Yeah.
made some plays, right?
I'm glad you mentioned that. So we saw a couple situations yesterday where I thought Alec Bohm, really kind of popped a little bit. It's interesting. Like I've knocked I hate this word. I try to actually go out of my way not to say narrative. It's like the most overused word in sports media, but there's this idea that he's, improved dramatically as a defender to the point where people almost use it as a way to like pump up Alec Bohm. Like, wow, he's just done so much to become such a good defender. I'm like, not really. I mean, historically speaking, he's worked his way to like slightly below average when you take in all parts of it. But this season, like it looks even better. Like it looks like he's taken a little bit more of a step, and like he's starting to grade out metrically. He's not like one of the top defenders, but he's 1 out above average this year. That's 11th of all third basemen. He has 0 defensive run save, which on the surface doesn't sound great, but it's still 13 out of all third basemen. Like he's done a nice job. And there was a play that I thought went kind of very under the radar yesterday. You talk about Wheeler Skeens and what that game's supposed to look like and the shape of what that game should be. Every base matters. And there was a play in the second inning where I believe it was Connor Griffin hits the ball down the line. Bohm goes to his right, dives, doesn't get an out, but holds him to a single, where that's a dead red double all the way off the bat.
Yeah.
And Mangum comes up after that. Wheeler gets him. So like no harm, no foul either way. They would have been all right. But it's like little things like that pop out to me. I'm like, over time, like those plays matter. Like that's going to win you a baseball game at some point. And then he obviously had some flash plays later in the game that you're like, whoa, between just the range and the arm. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's an elite defender by any stretch, but I do think it's fair, like with all of my criticisms of Alec Bohm, to say he really has seemingly taken another step defensively where he has worked his way just through this season anyway, to this point where he's worked his way into being a modestly above average third baseman, which I would have never thought I'd say at any point.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Bob. And it wasn't only a couple years ago where we thought he was bottom of the league defensively at third base, right? And now he's top half of the league at third base. It doesn't mean you have to be the best or top 5 or anything like that. But if you're top half, you're fine. If you're the top 15 of the league at your defensively at your position, you're good. You're fine. I would take 8 position players who are top half of the league. They don't have, and none of them be top 5. I think that would be a perfectly acceptable defensive team, right, in Major League Baseball. And so if he's one of the top 15 defensive third basemen, cool. I'm on board. And this was an interesting note that we got from Bam 1003. He says, as bad as Bomer has been this year, unlike last year, his offensive struggles haven't affected his defense.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point. That's a good note to point to that. But even on top of that, like he had a decent weekend at the plate too. Like really, I loved his 2 hits against Skeens. I thought those.
Yeah, that was eye-opening. I've kind of been reluctant to, because you know how this goes. Like, yeah. I always say, like, it's not personal. I want the guy to do well. Like, I obviously have a pretty firm position of how I evaluate Alec Bohm as a player. But, there's been some eye-opening swings. Like, forget the stuff against Freeland, against the Rockies. Like, who cares?
Right.
Like, it's a bad lefty carrying a 6 ERA. But, like, when you go up there and you put together those types of plate appearances against a guy like Paul Skeens, you start to acknowledge maybe he's figuring something out a little bit. And the numbers indicate that. I mean, he's in the middle of an 8-game hitting streak. His last 7 games, which actually does not count the 2 home run games, so it excludes that. But he's hitting .357 with an .808 OPS. Last 15 games, 304 with a 798 OPS. So like the numbers are starting to climb back up there. And even today, as we talk, he's up to 209. So he's cleared that 200 threshold. And again, low bar here. But the 568 OPS, I think it's fair to point out that there was a guy that the Phillies tried to sign this offseason in Bo Bichette, who essentially punked the Phillies last moment. Well, guess what? He's hitting 210 with 2 home runs, 18 runs batted in, and a 531 OPS. He has been considerably worse in light of this recent Bohm resurgence than Alec Bohm this season.
Yeah. That's
so for all the things I've gotten wrong, I'd like to point out to you that I said that Bo Bichette stinks and he was going to have a horrible year.
Yeah.
So
he took the bag, man, and that's it. You don't
I
have
don't
to
blame him for that.
You
I
don't
mean,
have to
that
work
doesn't
hard,
make
you
him a
lose.
bad person, but I'm just telling you that like we're at a point now where I think it actually just more accentuates how piss poor Bo Bichette's been. But Alec Boehm, between the two, has had a better year
so far. Yeah, no, and I think that Stott had a really good weekend as well. It was funny. I was watching that game, as I do on many Sundays. I usually go sit at a bar with my son and watch the Sunday Phillies game. And Stott had a fly out to left field against Skeens. I forget what inning it was in. And I looked at Anthony and I said to him, that was something we haven't seen in a while, like him really driving the ball the other way. It was just a fly out, but he hit the ball hard the opposite way. And I said, I wonder if that's, hey, just kind of the approach with Skeens, just keep the hands back, hit through the ball, whatever, and kind of hit it where it's pitched. Will that kind of come back and help later in the game? Well, sure as hell it did. Yeah. It sure did later in the game, and he hits the home run was a seed. Like it was on a line, like out of the ballpark. So like I was impressed by Bryson Stott this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean he's got a long way to go. It's a 653 OPS today, but look, the last 7, 8-16, last 37, 31. Like I don't need Bryson Stott over 162 games, well, the ones that he plays, to carry an 800 plus OPS. I do need him to carry it over 720. And you're looking at over a month now where he's kind of at least in that range. When you consider the defense, although some of the defensive metrics, Bryson Stott, aren't awesome this year. I will say that. But to the eye test, it still looks pretty good to me. But I mean, he at least I think is starting to level off where he's not killing you. And you had two guys in this lineup that were absolutely murdering you night in, night out in Boehm and Stott. And they've gotten themselves back to a place where they're at least treading water now.
Correct. They still both need to be better.
Boehm has a long way to go. I mean, I don't want to like gas this guy up too much. He's still sitting here with like a 5,
for sure.
OPS of third base.
For sure.
Come on.
But there is some encouragement.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's so weird. Like, I know that I don't want to say you, I think everyone, it was like kind of like commonly believed that changing the manager isn't going to change this team. It's the players who play. And I still will always say that. What's weird though, like, here's what I don't believe. I don't believe that when Cristopher Sanchez went out and was getting lit up by the Cubs in the 4th game of that sweep where he gave up like 12 hits in over 5 innings. I don't believe that that's Rob Thompson's fault. Like he has nothing to do with that. And I don't believe that, in his last 4 games, here's Cristopher Sanchez, 30 2/3 innings pitched, 19 hits, 2 earned runs, 37 strikeouts, 4 walks, 0.59 ERA. I don't believe that has absolutely anything to do with Don Mattingly. Like, it just doesn't. I know that. So you get Wheeler back, you get Sanchez rolling, you have these 2 guys at the top of the rotation. Nothing to do with Rob. I also don't believe that some of this offensive improvement really has anything to do with the managerial change. It just simply doesn't. It's still the same hitting coach. It's still the same lineup. Where I do wonder, though, like if you can try to quantify, and the record is the most important thing, 15-4 with Don Mattingly. Well, 14-4, Dusty Wathan had the 1 when Mattingly was away this weekend. 6 straight series wins after losing 6 straight series going into it. It's just an incredible turnaround. The one thing where I do wonder, though, like if you can make anything of this, in the first 28 games of the season, the ones that Rob Thompson was here for, the Phillies made 18 total errors, 5th most in all of baseball. In the 19 games since Rob Thompson's been fired, do you know how many errors the Phillies have made?
1, I think, right?
It's 4 in 19 games, but it's the fewest of any team in baseball. Now, look, you look at range and individual metrics. Harper still having a poor defensive year at first base. If you look at some of the StatCast numbers, I'm not telling you all of a sudden these guys are elite defenders, but how do you go from playing such a more crisp, clean product or brand of baseball in that time frame? And it's not Rob's fault that they couldn't make routine plays or that they looked like a little league team on some nights, but like I do wonder Was the manager being fired the firm smack across the face that this team needed? And is that defensive turnaround the biggest indication of what can happen when you hurt a team and you take away a guy that you have a lot of respect for?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's ultimately what it came down to. It was almost like you got him fired. It's your fault that he lost his job. We can't get rid of all of you, so we had to get rid of somebody. And it's you're collectively, the 26 guys in this clubhouse, it's your fault that this guy lost his job. Now wake the hell up. And I think that's exactly what happened. The one thing, though, I will give Mattingly some credit for on this. There seems to be, and look, I've not been down there with, I was doing the Flyers with the playoffs, and then they were away all last week. So I've really not, I won't be back down there till tomorrow. But from what it sounds like, and from the couple times that I have been down there, it does seem like there is a little bit more full team participation in the pregame warm-up process.
Did you notice the note that the Phillies sent? It was a few days ago. And so for those of you listening, the Phillies send out to media members an update of when the manager will be available and when the clubhouse is open. And I thought there was something really interesting in there. Usually it just says 3:45, see you there. It was after team defense, Don Mattingly will be available. And I just thought to myself, well, why did they put that in there?
Yeah. Well, it's also because it used to be very scheduled, right? Rob was a very scheduled person in the sense of you lock the locker or clubhouse would be open for 50 minutes. And this was at this time. And Rob would be immediately after the clubhouse was open in the dugout. And then he would wander out onto the field and do his thing, right? Mattingly wants that on-field work. He wants to be a part of it first before he comes in to talk to the media. And like I just said, there's been more participation in that.
Do you think what's the effect of that? Is that the player saying well, damn, we knew this guy was a great player. Look at this 65-year-old guy still out here grinding through it, getting it done. Do you, and conversely, more so than that, do you think that it kind of gives Mattingly a better feel to be directly in touch with the team? You're on the field going through the motions with the team. Does that put you more in tune with the team, do you think, coming in?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Gabe Kapler used to do this too, right? I mean, how Gabe was, right? I remember when he was talking with the Giant, he was the manager of the Giants, and I was doing a one-on-one interview with him, and they had just acquired Paul DeYoung. And he said, can we push off the interview for 15 minutes? I got to go to first base and catch throws from DeYoung to get a sense of how he throws the ball. You're not playing the game. Why do you have to catch his balls at first base? But it's the same kind of thing, right? So maybe there's a little bit of something to that, right? So yeah, look, I think it's a more energetic approach, or I don't say energetic, more focused, physically getting into the game before the game, maybe a little bit more under Mattingly than there was under Rob. That's something and maybe that was just all they needed. They just needed to get themselves jump started a little sooner. I don't know if that translates. Maybe, small sample, but we'll see.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people will be quick to point out the schedule, and I hear you. Look, they were horrible against the Cubs and the Braves, and we've come to find out that the Cubs and Braves, more so the Braves, are elite teams.
Yeah.
But in games where they have not played the Cubs or Braves this season, they're 22-12 now. And so, that is a big part of it. Remove the 2-11 between the Cubs and the Braves, and this looks a lot different.
Before you get to your next point, because we have a little bit of a back and forth here between a couple of our commenters, and I just wanted to address this because I think I kind of fall somewhere between the two. So Ford first says Mattingly made lineup tweaks which have paid off. Okay.
Yeah.
Noah Mellons goes, managers are not important. Realmuto can set the lineup for this team. It's a joke that people think managers matter at all. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? Don Mattingly's not making lineup tweaks. He gets credit for it, but let's be honest, every team in Major League Baseball, the lineups are dictated by the analytics department, and the computers pump out what the best possible scenarios are. Every once in a while, if a guy's banged up or whatever, or a guy needs a day off, might a manager make a small change? Sure. But for the most part, that's not really a managerial decision. to say managers don't matter at all is asinine, because you do have to manage personalities. It's more about that. And there's obviously in-game strategy, whatever. We all argue with managers like, oh, I would have done this, you would have done that, whatever. That's fine. But managers, what makes a manager is how he manages his people, less about how he manages baseball, if that makes sense.
I agree. I mean, look, some people have listened to the show in more recent times, but those of you that have listened for a long time know that I was a varsity high school head coach, and it's a little bit different. Your strategy matters more. The way that you run your practices certainly matters more. Data is not collected at scale, so it's up to you to try to figure out tendencies and how other teams in your opposition is performing and what they might do. So there's a lot more that I think a high school coach can sort of influence. But I also believe that, to your point, it really is about personality management. Can I get this person to buy in? Can I make them more selfless? Can I make them more team oriented? Can I motivate them? Can I get them to believe in themselves at a key spot? And I think that does translate to the major league level. Yeah. And I don't mean to be like Harry High School, Johnny Rah-Rah in saying that. Like, the manager doesn't have to be a cheerleader or a psychologist, but I do think your ability to connect at a human level, gain respect, gain trust and belief is immensely important in how a baseball team functions. As much as these guys are professional athletes and that they have kind of almost become, they probably do, some of them become robotic in their routine and the way that they approach the game and try to desensitize themselves from all the external factors. Like, they are human beings. And the way that they are treated, the way that they're talked to, the way that somebody that is supposed to be a leader of a clubhouse moves on a day-to-day basis, I refuse to believe it doesn't have any impact whatsoever. I just don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bob. I'm with you, right? So and then the Ford follows up and he says, so the question then is, did Rob stop being able to get the roster to buy in? And that's a fair question. I mean, it's possible that, you know, it got to a point where the voice just was like, yeah, we're with you, Rob. Yeah, but it wasn't as intensely focused because it was something that they had gotten used to over 4 years or 4 and whatever it is, 4 seasons. And that maybe that it was now just the same message, but coming from somebody different, kind of just reinvigorates.
I firmly believe that you can more or less do things similarly from a tactical standpoint, from a preparation standpoint, and just a little alteration in the way that the message gets delivered can have an impact. I know it's hard for people, and I don't mean this like I'm not trying to say like for fans, like I too am a fan, but I think sometimes it's hard for us on the other side of it to believe that, you know, hey, Brandon Marsh can hit lefties or he can't. Bryce Harper is either going to be elite or he isn't. Kyle Schwarber is either going to, we look at these guys like they're either going to do it or they're not. But I do believe that a guy just shows up, he's told something in a different way. I think that can have an impact. Now, all of that being said, the numbers are just this reversal in what has happened is just truly crazy. Like to say, oh, they were 10 games under, now they're a game over. It's an 11-game swing in such a short amount of time. But when you go a step deeper, it truly is crazy. Like, look at the Phillies pitching prior to the Thompson firing. They had a 5.13 ERA, the third worst in baseball, with a 1.52 WHIP, which was 29th out of 30 teams. And there were still underlying numbers. If you remember, you go back a month ago, I said there are underlying metrics here that suggest this team is much better than this from a pitching standpoint. They were still top 5 in K per 9, strikeout to walk ratio. They had like historically poor batting average, balls in play luck, all that. But the fact of the matter is that they were simply not performing. They were not preventing runs. They were bottom of the barrel at doing that. Since his firing, they're 4th in ERA at 2.91. They're 3rd in K per 9, over 10 strikeouts per 9. They're 1st in strikeout to walk ratio, and they're 5th in WHIP. I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, they are pitching like the team that we expected them to be at, and the staff has been what we thought it was going to be back in March. It's most of the staff. We'll get there.
Well, and that's the thing, Bob, and you just said that, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, those numbers are as good as they've been under Mattingly, and that's with 2 of your 5 starting pitchers not really living up to snuff. Yeah, Painter had a 5-inning, 1-run game, and Nola had a 6 shutout inning game. Fine. But aside from that, those two guys have been wildly inconsistent and not great, right? So, and yet the numbers are what they are. Imagine if those two were even just average, like how much better this thing would be.
I hear you, and I don't want to get too far off of this because I want to go down a different road here with the Mattingly thing in a second. But do you give the Phillies any credit? Like I was reading online Friday night, and someone said, "Well, here's the difference between what you would have seen with Mattingly and Thompson." Mind you, the Phillies were down 6-0 and then 6-1. I wish I had this in front of me. I don't have the actual game. They went to here we are. They went to they pulled Nola in the 4th inning, right? Like he's starting to leak oil again. He can't get that 12th out to get through the 4th. They go to Meza, who has been pretty good. Like he's been one of their guys from the left side, certainly. And so they get into this 4th inning. Nola puts a couple guys on. They go to Meza in the 4th inning. He gets out of it. The Pirates don't score. And then all of a sudden, the Phillies in the top of the 5th come back and score 2 more. And now it's 6-3. Like, I felt like sometimes, and I know like in 24, I said this all the time, Rob would sort of like wave the white flag. Like, we don't have it tonight. Like, do you think that are we like grasping at straws at where you can give Mattingly credit for how he manages a game? Or do you think there's something to be said to, like, they went to Meza, who's a dude down 6-0 in the 4th inning, and that kind of buoyed them a little bit and gave them an opportunity to sort of scratch their way back into thinking that maybe they could win this game?
Well, I don't know about that one in particular, but I definitely think it was the one after that. Who came in after Meza?
Well, so from there, you're 6-3.
What was it when it was 7-3? When it was 7-3,
so Meza stays in the game for the 5th inning because Meza goes an inning and a third, and then in the 6th, down 7-3, they go to Bolin.
That one. That's the one where I think you can give him credit because look, you had to pull Nola, so somebody had to come in the game. Like, and it just happened to be Tim Meza that you bring in. But once you get the 3 runs, right, and then and you're like, that's 6-3, and then Pittsburgh tacks on another run, and you're thinking, you're still probably not coming back. Apparently, Harper was interviewed afterwards. I forget who it was that did the interview. I think it was NBC Sports. And he says afterwards, Mattingly went on the mound and says, we're going to come back in this game. So, like, we're making this change. We're going to come back in this game. He didn't just leave a pitcher in to just, take the beating at that point.
I kind of look at it more and say that my evaluation wasn't that, like, Mattingly was ultra aggressive. They get down 8-3, and then it's Chase Schwarber, right? Like, who's pitched very well, but like is not a guy that you're like, hey, this is a high leverage arm for us. It's more, I think, of a reflection that the Phillies bullpen has some depth to it. Like, it's not that there's not really a like wave the white flag guy in this bullpen. And all of these guys came in, did a job. Bolin gave up a run, but it was unearned. And Schwarber was good for 2 innings, and he keeps the game within reach. They get it back to 8-5 in the 7th, and then that leaves them in touch in the 9th inning. And I believe it was Griffin started the inning in the 9th with the error. But you see Gregory Soto out there, who's had a pretty good year for the Pirates, and you go, they got a shot here.
Yeah.
So let me finish the point on this turnaround, just a little to be a little bit deeper inside the numbers. We talked about the pitching turnaround. And we talked about the defensive turnaround. What might be a little bit surprising to hear is since Don Mattingly's become manager of this team, the Phillies are 5th in batting average. They're 3rd in slug. They're 2nd in home runs, and they're 5th in OPS. I know that has a lot to do with what Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have done here. But I still would not have thought in these 19 games, if you told me like how'd they get here, I'd be like, well, pitching and defense. The offense is carrying its weight here.
It has, especially this weekend. I mean, it didn't. You got to remember. I mean, when we talked on Friday, they just had a brutal offensive series against the Red Sox, and it was just like, if it wasn't for Kyle Schwarber, what the hell would this team be? And now all of a sudden they had a good weekend, and it's like, well, look, they're turning it around.
Right, I hear you, and I'm glad you said that. We're locked in today. So this is why I want to point this out. This is important. Talked about how Alec Boehm's been a little bit better, right? I would like to mention that despite all of what I just said from an offensive standpoint, Phillies right-handed hitters this season have a 580 OPS. I talked about this on Friday. the worst in baseball. It still is after this weekend. The next lowest is the Mets. They're now under 600 themselves. They're at 597. Phillies right-handed hitters have actually been worse since Mattingly has taken over. They 570 OPS, Phillies right-handed hitters in the last 19 games, and they've won 15 of them. So if that doesn't speak to what you're getting out of Schwarber, Harper, Marsh, Crawford situationally here and there, and then the improvement by Bohm, the rest of it's been just terrible. I mean, Trey Turner had a couple hits this week, this weekend that were impactful, mattered, but the numbers are still terrible. I
will say this about Trey Turner yesterday. I'm not going to go the full weekend, but yesterday, I thought that he had some professional at-bats against Paul Skeens. Yeah. Even the first one of the game, he strikes out. I think it was 8 pitches. Like it was an 8-pitch at-bat. Like he wasn't up there free swinging like he always does. He was working it. Like, I mean, that's an important at-bat because they put all those pitches on Skeens, and that set the tone. So, it's rare that you say that there's a good strikeout offensively. That was a good strikeout. It really set the tone for how the team. And then, of course, he gets the double down the right field line, right? Or double to right field. I thought he had a really
signs of life.
Yeah, encouraging game on Sunday. It's one game. I can't put more than that into it, but I got to give him credit for that because that was an important thing against a very good pitcher.
All right, we have to get to Schwarber and Harper because this weekend they were out of their minds. Who do you want to do first?
Well, let's do Schwarber. Well, let's do Harper first because Harper was more important against the Pirates than Schwarber. Okay. Schwarber was more important prior to that.
So he obviously has the big double it's almost out of the park on Friday night. It was a huge hit in a big spot. But I want to talk a little bit about his weekend as a whole and what we saw on Saturday. His home run on Saturday, 457 feet.
Unbelievable.
Out to dead center. In case you're wondering, because I know that we've talked about his ability to get the fastballs. Is it declining? And, is he still the same guy and all this stuff? And I remember back in the 23 playoffs against the Diamondbacks, it was game 5 of the NLCS. They had just lost the 2 in Arizona. You're thinking like, oh my God, are they going to totally fall apart here? And they ultimately did, but they won game 5 before coming back to Philly. And I don't know if you remember it that night, but he absolutely crushed a ball out towards right center field. And that was 440 feet. And I mean, it was violent, like off the bat, you're like, oh my God. This thing was 457. It was his longest home run since 2022. He hasn't hit a ball that far in 4 years. When you talk about like, do you have the power? Are you back? Like that was like just a key indication that like this guy might be as good as he's ever been. It was the eighth longest home run that he hit. And by the way, I don't know, for those of you listening, I work for Sport Radar, which is a sports data company, and I have access to pretty cool database here. So I was able to figure all this out. His 8th longest home run with the Phillies. His longest, by the way, was 470. Robbie Erlin, August of 2020, down in Atlanta.
Well, that's the year we don't remember.
Yeah, that season did not happen. But like, look, I think what's more important here, he slugged 550 against fastballs last year, right? He's slugging 616 against fastballs. That's 4-seamers and sinkers. He's slugging 616 against sinkers and fastballs this season.
We talked a lot about that last year, is how teams were beating him. He was struggling to hit the fastball for slug last year. I know it says 550 is still a pretty decent number, but comparatively, it wasn't great. And then he ended up chasing a lot. So he was missing.
Well, and the product of that was he slugged 421 against breaking stuff last year because he was all over the place going outside the zone. And the biggest difference in his overall numbers, yes, there's an incremental uptick against velocity, but he's slugging 661 against breaking pitches this year versus 421 last year.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
Season.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, that's it. And look, it's like you mentioned earlier, you just kind of slid it in there. He's top 4 in MVP odds right now?
Not a bad bet with that pedigree. He's got the name.
It's legit.
Phillies win 90 games, get back into it.
It's legit. I mean, he's pacing what, 35 and 105 right now? Home runs and RBIs for your counting stats. And you're going to hit 280. You're going to get on base at 370, right? And you're going to be this productive of a player like that. He's got a shot.
I'd point out the 457 out to dead center. That was 97. It was supposed to be more elevated in the zone, but it was up a little bit, and he got around on it. And then yesterday against Skeens was 95.5, sinker that was kind of a little bit more middle than I'm sure that Skeens would have liked, but again, just crushed it. He's right on it. So this whole idea.
And Bama probably pulling this off. I'm assuming this is from StatCast. Expected slug 587, 96th percentile this year.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hitting the ball hard.
Percentile and expected batting average too.
Yeah.
So
he's hitting the ball hard. Bob, I remember you asking me, I don't know if it was in February, March, whenever we did this. I remember you asking me what I thought Bryce Harper was going to do this year. And I was convinced, just knowing the guy, knowing how he operates, knowing what he pays attention to everything, and he does everything with a purpose, that this was going to be a vengeance year for him. I really felt that.
Somebody on Twitter this weekend, I wish I had it, said like Dave Dombrowski's best move this offseason was pissing off Bryce Harper.
Yeah. I mean, it's not wrong.
Stroke of genius.
It's not wrong, right? Like I agree. I kind of think that was the most important thing that he did this offseason, because I said it to you at the end of the year last year, like there was just something that just seemed off about Bryce last year. Like he seemed mercurial. He seemed like he was melancholy. He was, and I'm using these big words just for our buddy Chris Freed, who says that I use too many big words on a sports podcast. But like he really was like different. It wasn't that he was wasn't that he was bad. He just didn't seem as into it as Bryce Harper usually seems. Yeah. And so to get Dombrowski saying what he said and have that be the offseason storyline, it totally refocused this guy. And Harper's out there now saying, yeah, don't forget about me, man. I'm still one of the best players in this sport, and I'm going to show you.
So this is exactly where he's trending through 47 games, and he's played them all, by the way. Yeah. 97 runs, 165 hits, 31 doubles, 41 home runs, 103 runs batted in, 90 walks. So he is within reach of doing 100 runs plus batted in, 100 walks, 100 runs scored, 40 home runs, all while flirting with, hitting 280, 290. I mean, this is
yeah.
I don't need to hear the word elite every time he does something good. Like, we don't need to do that. I think that that's sort of stale at this point, quite honestly, but fill in the blank, it's certainly that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's great. It's real. It's everything that the Phillies needed from him. And he's got to keep it up. I mean, 47 games is not enough. You can't just sit there and say, that's it. But it's a hell of a start.
Yeah, and look, Ohtani minus 310 to win the MVP this morning. Matt Olson plus 850. Kyle Schwarber plus 1,000. Bryce Harper plus 2,200 has moved ahead of guys like Corbin Carroll, Ellie De La Cruz, James Wood, Juan Soto, Drake Baldwin, O'Neal Cruz. So,
yeah, I mean, look,
3 and 4 favorites right now.
I think Ohtani gets the nod. The odds nod just because he's Ohtani, right? Yeah. Matt Olson would be the guy for me right now that should be leading this race, but I think Harper and Schwarber are right there, right behind him.
Yeah, and look, I want to talk about Schwarber, and we'll come back to him in 1 second, but since we're talking odds and Phillies, let's look at Cy Young real quick. I mean, obviously, Paul Skeens gives up the 5 earned runs yesterday and a little over 5 innings pitched. Plus 230 right now to win the NL Cy Young Award is Skeens. Sanchez right on his heels, plus 250. At FanDuel, it's 240 and 250. Coming into the weekend, Skeens was plus 150. Sanchez was, I believe, up plus 350. So this weekend, you've seen Cristopher Sanchez take a big jump. By the way, you do not have Zack Wheeler within the top 10 right now. He sits just outside the top 10, 11th at plus 5,000, and that's much in part because he's made half as many starts as the other guys. But Cristopher Sanchez, I think, did a lot of damage to Paul Skeens' case this season. Now, it's only the middle of May. And I think if I had to make a bet, I probably would still take Skeens because of the hype machine behind him and because he's awesome. But look, you can't ignore the fact that Cristopher Sanchez went out there through a complete game shutout and struck out 13 batters. And the next day, Paul Skeens couldn't get through the 6th inning against the Phillies. Like, that's real.
That is real. It's funny.
The Pirates have had the better offense. If you said, hey, let me show you all these numbers this season between the Pirates offense and the Phillies offense, you'd say, like, blindly, I'll go with the Pirates offense. Now, I'm not saying that I would do that if I looked at all the names, but Pirates have been the better offense.
Yeah. Two things I have to say on this. One, I think that turn of events, and you actually texted me something about this earlier, but that turn of events, because it happened in the order that it happened, had those games been flipped, it might not have been as noticeable. It still would have been noticeable, but maybe not as noticeable. But if the Phillies had beaten Skeens first and then Sanchez went out and pitched a great game on Sunday, it would have been okay. Yeah, look, he's in the mix. He's reminding everyone that there's
definitely a your-term quality about this. You're up.
Yeah. But this went the other way.
Yeah,
this went the other way. This was like Chris Sanchez came into your ballpark and blew away your team and said, all right, you're the Cy Young, answer that. And you couldn't.
Yeah.
That might be more damaging to Skeens in the long run than if it were the other way around.
It could be. I mean, as you talk about these things on May 18th, I think you can't ignore it. And if these guys are even up come late September, I think that you come back to this and say this matters as you're trying to tell the story. But obviously, it goes without saying that both of these guys have to make another 20 starts. And
yeah, for sure.
That's plenty of time for these numbers to shift.
Here's the second thing I wanted to say. That's great value on Zack Wheeler. 5,000 to 1?
Yeah, you got
or 500 to 1.
Sale, Mizorowski, Yamamoto, Burns, who we'll see this week, who's awesome, by the way, Chase Burns.
Yeah.
Nolan McLean, Mason Miller, Imanaga, and then Wheeler.
I mean,
can we talk about Wheeler real quick? I have to tell you something.
That's worth the bet, dude. Like, to me.
I have to tell you something. Yesterday, coming into that game, I'm like, wow, Wheeler Skeens, right? And earlier in the week when I saw Wheeler Skeens, I thought to myself, well, they're going to lose that game. Like, Wheeler is not Skeens right now. And I know he was really good against the Red Sox. And Zach's been awesome since he's come back. And I guess that shouldn't be surprising. But, like, I was buying into a little bit of the velo decline. I'm like, 94, 95 is not high 95, 96, sometimes touch 97. And then yesterday, the fastball was up a mile and a half. It was he sniffed 98 at one point. He averaged 1.6 miles per hour more on the fastball yesterday. His sinker was up. Like the RPMs were up. So like from like the nerdy, like advanced, like how's the ball move part of it? Like I'm like, oh, he's back. Like he's all the way back. And it's just like now I'm like, well, maybe he is going to be Zack Wheeler this season all the way through. Not a guy like, let's be honest, like he's not out there throwing 91 where he's like got to be crafty. But like yesterday, the stuff, it took a step forward. And if it's going to stay there, then like Zack Wheeler plus 5,000. Yeah. Okay. Even making 26 starts.
It's possible. No, 100%. 100%. I'm absolutely. I agree. I was incredibly impressed with Zack Wheeler yesterday. Like it was almost like
it's hard to be impressed by him too.
Yeah,
because the bar is set so high.
Yeah, because I mean, there's been a couple times where you've seen this kind of matchup before, right? Where it's like then Wheeler would go out and he would throw a really good game. But, he wouldn't quite be as good as the other guy. Like, he would still throw a very good game.
I want to say he ran into, like, the Mets a couple years ago with DeGrom where they were going head up, and DeGrom got the better of him a couple times. And, to your point, I think that there have been a few of these over the past couple of years where it's Wheeler versus, like, prime time. Who was it down in Baltimore? Like, I know the Orioles destroyed him a couple of years ago in a game where it was like supposed to be like a marquee matchup. It might have been the guy from Milwaukee that went down to Baltimore.
Oh yeah. Corbin Burns.
I want to say Burns like really got the best
smoked. He gave up the 8 runs. Like he gave up those home runs, right?
Yeah, and I want to say it was like maybe a Sunday game where it was like, wow, premier pitching matchup, and Wheeler got tatted, and Burns was good. Like I think I'm not imagining that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. But yeah, it's like he impressed me. He really did with the way he pitched that game, because he knew. I think he also knew, Bob, that it was going to take a few innings for the Phillies to plan at the plate to kind of come to fruition, because Skeens was good early, but they were putting the pitches on him. Whereas Wheeler's like, I just got to match this. I just got to match this, and then let our offense get to the bullpen.
Yeah,
that was kind of I think that was the plan. Of course, they got the Skeens and didn't have to wait for the bullpen. But that's what impressed me most about his start. I was just watching, and I was like, this guy he's reminding everyone that he's still here too. It's just another thing. It was just another, like, hey, I know I was hurt and I was not around. I'm 35. I got the gray in the beard now, and whatever. I'm still Zack Wheeler, and that's important, right? That's important. I don't know if I could think of another 1-2 pitching combination I'd rather have going into a must-win scenario, whether it's a playoff series or regular season big series, than Sanchez Wheeler. I don't know if there's another combination in baseball that's better than those two.
In the National League, I guess you can make the argument with fully healthy Otani Yamamoto is pretty damn good, but is it as good as Wheeler Sanchez? I don't know. I mean, maybe not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, we do have a couple more things we have to talk about. Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber hit 2 home runs on Friday night. He's got 20, and all these numbers, like you probably saw all of it. Like, he's the fastest to this, and he's on pace to do that. And I just, I know he doesn't homer Saturday or Sunday. He's still impactful, though. He's on pace right now for 69 home runs, 124 runs batted in, 107 walks, and score 114 runs. I mean, this guy, like, we're running out of things to say that are new and interesting about Kyle Schwarber. He is third right now in the MVP race. I don't know. I guess I just gave myself away. Like, what can you say about this at this point?
It's next level, Bob. I mean, it's gotten me to the point where I've started to wonder about where Kyle Schwarber will ultimately fall in the history of the sport. Right? I mean, I didn't think it was conceivable that he could match what he did last year. I assumed he could still have a very good season, but that he would probably step back to, 40, 42 home runs, not 56, whatever, or 58 rather, whatever. I just didn't, I didn't think that it would get that high again. And now he's on pace to break the non-steroid record and do so convincingly.
Crush it. 62 Judge.
Yeah, like convincingly. Like, he's on pace, and I know it's pace, right? There's still 113 games ago, 115 games ago. But he's on pace to come close to what McGuire and Bonds did.
So it's interesting.
That's unfathomable to me, and it makes me wonder, are we watching a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, it's a good question. I have a lot to say about this. And there was a pretty good conversation with one just incredibly idiotic comment that I saw this weekend, and I want to get to that real quick. So just to set the table here, like Bond 73, and then you have the Sosa, McGuire's, the high 60s, 70. If Schwarber hits 71, right, he clears the McGuire Sosa, but he doesn't get Bonds. So he's not beating Bonds. The steroid era is real. Like, I think that those guys should be in the Hall of Fame, quite honestly. Like, that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
They cheated, but like, so did a lot of guys. I'm a little bit more liberal, I guess, when it comes to that particular conversation. I don't know. If he hits 71, do people kind of look at it and go like, that's really the home run king right there? Like, it's 71. Like, some people say, like, he cleared that threshold, and we all know that Bonds was totally fraudulent. I wonder.
I think, in all honesty, I think if he beats 62, I think he gets that.
You get, some people will say it. I won't. Like, I'll still be like, he didn't beat the number, but
yeah. I think there will be some people with that.
I mean, to your question, if he hits 500 home runs, and right now,
got to get in, right?
It feels like you get in. And I know that there's like the Dave Kingman comparisons, and certainly understand that he doesn't play defense. But there's this guy was like dead serious when he said this. Like, this is crazy. This is a crazy tweet. Kyle Schwarber, career in plate appearances when he does not homer, a 168 batting average and a 518 OPS. So now add in bad defense or no defense as a DH. In other words, if he doesn't homer, he's one of the worst players in Major League Baseball history. I'm like, well, if you take away the at-bats where the guy does the best thing possible,
of course.
Yes, like he's a little bit more boom or bust than most players, but the boom is so far ahead of what others can do. How do you not account for that?
Yeah. There's a real chance that by the end of this season, he's top 6 in Phillies history in home runs. I mean, there's a real chance.
Yeah.
And he's only been here 5 years, right?
Yep.
What does that say?
Yeah, I mean, there's when you start talking about the home run stuff, like people say, well, Dave Kingman. Well, Dave Kingman didn't hit 500 home runs. And the more recent example is Adam Dunn, who was a tremendous power hitter, was sort of one-dimensional himself, a ton of strikeouts. But again, like he didn't hit 500 home runs. He had 462. There's a difference. I know baseball's moved away from being a counting stats game, but it is a counting stats game. And
for home runs,
it
can be a counting stats game. Yeah, for home runs, it can be a counting stats game.
And by the way, like when you look at wins above replacement, like Baseball Reference, Kingman 17.3 in 1,941 career games. Adam Dunn 18 wins above replacement in 2001 career games. Kyle Schwarber 21.5 wins above replacement in 1,336 games. I mean, these aren't the same players.
No, not at all. Not at all. And look, he's trending. I know that he's 360 right now. Right. I mean, let's say he hits let's say he slows down and he hits 30 more this season, just 30 and gets to 50. Right. I think he's going to do more than that, but let's just stop him there. Now, all of a sudden you're top 65 all time. Right. Then you go next season, you say, all right, let's say he hits another 40 next year.
What's the contract beyond this year? 3?
Right. What's that? I'm sorry.
Do you have 3 years beyond this year? Schwarber?
4.
They gave him 5, right? Okay.
Yeah, signed him the 5-year deal.
Yeah, so can he hit 110 home runs by the time that contract expires?
Yes. Like he's probably going to end up somewhere around Schmidt at mid 500s. Like he's going to be top 20 all time in home runs and non-steroid.
And I just wonder, like you have to account for decline. So what does he look like at 35? Except that he's a more prolific power hitter at 33 than he was at 30, and he was at 28. And he's a DH, and he's taking better care of himself than he ever has. And it would be an upset. I mean, a betting upset. You would have he has to be significantly favored at this point to surpass 500 career home runs.
Yes, I agree. And if you get over 500 seems to be the threshold to guarantee you in. Assume the steroid guys aside, you hit 500, you're going to get into the Hall of Fame.
And it's just a different era. I mean, it just is. Like, I know that the aversion will be always a 231 hitter. How do you put a 231 hitter in the Hall of Fame? I'll tell you what. Look at his sitting at high 800s, and he's going to have 500 career home runs. Then, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Hey, by the way, but this is, I don't want to divert, but we got a question from our good buddy, Oscar Budahan, former Spanish language broadcaster for the Phillies.
Oscar, what's up, man? How are you?
Yeah, asking, he said, great show, guys. Can the Phillies catch the Braves for the division in your view? It's
going to be tough. I mean, on one hand, 8 games on May 18th is nothing and has been overcome really often, right? I think that I'm guilty of this. They got beat 2 out of 3 by the Braves right before Rob got fired. And you're like, oh, this is over. They have no shot to win the division. Well, guess what? When you start to put all this together, and you're like, well, from here on out, are they going to perform like a top 7 offense? Are they going to have a top 5 rotation? Are they going to have a bullpen that is deep and as versatile as it appears to be in this moment? Are they going to add at the deadline? Could this team get back over 90 wins? If you check all those boxes, sure, you could overcome an 8-game deficit on May 18th. This team just picked up, from 10 under to over 500 in 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
anything's possible in terms of the calendar. But the disheartening thing, obviously, is that the Phillies have been this good, and they've not made up the type of ground that you would expect to make up in that stretch. They've gotten themselves back into like, they're in the rearview mirror, but they're not that close. And the other part of it is like, look, you mentioned this last week. Look at the Braves' upcoming schedule. It's like, where are the losses coming from?
Yeah. And the Phillies schedule is going to get a little tougher here towards the end of the month. Can they? Yes, they can. And it's got to be chipped away. We've had this conversation in years past, right, Bob? It's got to be chipped away in like, all right, if you could chip away, a game every week, right? Just chip away one a week. All of a sudden, in a couple months, you're back in the race. It's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, they just went 15-4 and only made up 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that tells you how hard it is. Can they? Yes. Do I think they will? No. I think that they're ultimately going to be a wild card team, but I don't put it past them. I won't say no. I won't say 100% they're not going to do it. I just don't think they will, but I think that it's possible.
Yeah. We are going long here. We have to briefly talk about Aaron Nola. Maybe we could save this for Friday when he gets one more start in, but we'll do like a quick thing here.
Yep.
Aaron Nola on Friday night, 3 2/3, 6 earned, 3 walks, only 2 strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs. He has a 5.91 ERA this season. He's only completed 6 innings in 3 of the 9 starts, which the one thing that was really valuable about Aaron Nola is that you could count on him to make every start and give you innings, and he's not even doing that right now. He's failed to finish 5 innings in 4 of the 9 starts. And I will say this, Anthony, since the start of last season, and I know he pitched through an injury at some point last year, but he is 7-13 with a 5.98 ERA, with a 1.42 whip, 26 games started. He's given up 27 home runs. Since the start of last year, all qualified pitchers, he's 135th out of 138 pitchers in ERA.
Yeah.
They got a problem here, and they have a problem in the immediate, and they certainly look like they have a problem given what his contract looks like.
I think they have to rethink a lot of things with him, Bob. They really do. It's funny because the one thing that if you look, there's one positive metric for him is that his curveball is still one of the best in baseball as far as curveballs. Got this from Matt Gelb's story in The Athletic. It's got a 172 batting average against, 279 slugging percentage against. It's really, really good. Problem is he can't get to it because he has no command on his fastball, which is getting freaking torched.
So then you go back to that Marlins start, and he's throwing it more early in counts. Well, all teams have to do is sit there and go like, oh, okay. Like, well, you got the Marlins on it, but if that's what you're going to do, we're ready for that. You're going to have to throw a fastball at some point.
Right. Apparently right now, again, according to Matt Gelb's story, Nola's throwing only 42.5% of his pitches in the strike zone, which is the lowest of his career. So if you can't command your pitches and throw strikes, you're going to get smoked.
Now, is that a product of A, lack of conviction in the strike zone, feeling that you're going to get burned, B, deteriorating control, and command, or see both?
Yeah, well, so there was a thought, and I think it's more than this now. There was a thought that he was going to be a victim of ABS a little bit because there are those pitches that, he's always been a guy who's lived on the black in a lot of what he does. And there's probably some pitches that he's gotten in his career that maybe he shouldn't have. And that now that batters can challenge it, and that he's going to get victimized by that because umpires are going to call it a ball, and if batters are going to call it, whatever, and if batters want to challenge it, fine, or if his catcher wants to challenge it, fine, whatever. So a lot of those close calls, but it's more than that now. Yeah. It's not just that. It's beyond that. Even last year, his rate of pitches on the black were 50%. They're 41 this year. Yeah. It's down. He's just not he's not controlling or commanding his pitches. And if he's putting guys on base, he's walking guys a little bit, and then he's getting his fastballs getting smoked. You can't have that. You just can't have that. He's got to figure something out there with the fastball.
Look, I'm at a place with where they're at right now that you continue to allow him to work through this. If 3-4 starts from now, he can't get you through 5 innings, I think they probably do some type of shutdown reset and hope that works. And they don't need Aaron Nola to be great this year. They don't even need Aaron Nola to be good, but they need him to be functional.
Yeah.
Or they need somebody in that fifth spot of the rotation to be functional. And I think your best option in the short term, though, you know how I feel about it, and I'm not particularly confident that he's going to right the ship. He could. I think your best option in the short term is to allow him to work through it. And that's really without even the contract consideration. Where things just get really murky, though, is $96 million after this season over 4 years. That is the entirety in terms of length of the Taijuan Walker contract with another $24 million of total money tacked onto it.
Yeah.
It's swallowing the entire Taijuan Walker contract from the day it was signed with an additional $24 million. That's scary.
Yeah, it is. That's brutal. It's brutal. But hey, it's not our money.
Plus, you got the Ghost Energy deck now. I'm sure that takes care of it, right?
There you go. Ghost Energy deck is covering up for those mistakes.
All right, real quick, Phillies Reds this week. Reds are okay. They got off to a really good start. They've been fairly mediocre lately. The Phillies see Nick Lodolo tonight, and he's a talented pitcher who has done a very good job against the Phillies in 6 career starts, a 3.06 ERA with a 1.19 WHIP. Edmundo Sosa hits him a little bit, 444 average in 19 plate appearances. Alec Boehm has hit him all right in 18 plate appearances. Realmuto, Schwarber, just dismal against him, actually. Schwarber's really struggled, 167 against Lodolo. The thing that's interesting, though, is he's only made 2 starts this year, and he's been bad in both. He went 5 1/3 in his first game, 4 earned runs against an Astros team that can't hit at all. Then his last time out against the Nationals, again, not a great offense. He only lasted 4 innings, gave up 5 earned runs. He has an 8.68 ERA through 2 starts. So on paper, I'd like to tell you that the Phillies are up against a tough matchup tonight, especially against a lefty who has decent stuff. But hopefully he hasn't figured it out, and he doesn't tonight either.
Well, here's the thing, Bob. I don't particularly love the Phillies in this series. And I know I got the last one wrong. We both did. We both picked the Pirates to win that series, and the Phillies swept them. So maybe we'll be wrong again. But I still have a concern about Phillies against left-handed pitching. They don't hit it, right? And they're going up against left-handed pitching with the back of their rotation. So yeah. I mean, you got Painter tonight. Then I think it's Luzardo tomorrow and Nola on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I have them backwards, but I think it's those 3 guys. And you're getting 2 lefties because you're also getting Abbott. Oh, Abbott. That's right. Yeah. Abbott is pitching on Wednesday, right? So you got 2 lefties going. I don't know. I don't love it.
Go Lodolo, Painter, which I think is a toss up, just given how Lodolo's been in his brief run this year. Painter looked okay. I don't love it tonight. I certainly, if I were able to bet, I would not. Bet on the Phillies tonight, but they are favored, -131 favorite. We'll see. Chase Burns, 5-1, 1.87 ERA, 55 strikeouts already up against Jesus Luzardo, who either is going to be Cy Young or, I don't know, give me a bad Phillies lefty. Matt Beach. How's that? Is that a good pull?
That's a good pull.
Is that a good one on the fly? And then obviously Nola, who we just talked about, up against Abbott, and I would go advantage Abbott there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a tough series. You just kind of hope that they get home. It's hot as hell. Just to play the old hitting season card. Maybe they just come in and get rolling and just keep it hot right now. I mean, they are blazing hot.
Yeah, I mean, you hope for that. I'm going to pick the Reds 2 out of 3.
I will do the same just because I've been pretty cold at this and I want to be wrong again.
There you go. That's good.
There you go.
That's good. Hey, one last thing. Did you see what happened in Tampa with the Miami Marlins during the warm-up?
As you know, often I do not see when you bring these things up, and I did not see.
This is fantastic. So this has nothing to do with the game, but this is a 1 in a million, Bob.
Oh, I did see the balls, the throws. Yes. Oh, yes, I did see this. Yes.
How incredible is that? Have you ever seen anything like that? Like, even
no, that's right up there with the Randy Johnson Bird thing. In
yeah, but I'm saying, like, even at high school level, you ever seen
never seen anything
guys
like
warming
that
up and hit balls in the air?
Yeah.
Like,
virtually impossible to do that.
Just to tell everybody what happened. So they're warming up before an inning, and are warming up, and the catcher is throwing down to second base at the same time that the shortstop is throwing a warm-up grounder over to first, and the two balls collide in midair and split into separate directions. It was unbelievable. I don't know if we can see it. If I pull it up here, let me hit play. I don't know if I can really zoom in. Let me try and nope, the wrong way. Like, that's not the way to do it. How about we do it this way? That's about the best I can do.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to hit play on this, and you'll see. That's not it. Here we go.
Oh.
And the balls just hit each other. There's a better angle where they show slow-mo. And this is great because you don't see the one ball. It's just
goes out.
Just goes out to the outfield. Here's the best angle on super slow-mo. It's like unbelievable. Boom. Just go. That's fantastic. Like, you never, ever will see that, Bob, anywhere. So I just thought it was a cool thing.
They say when you go down to the yard, you might see something you've never seen
before, right? I just thought it was cool to bring up, and that I don't know if we'll ever see that again in our lifetimes.
There you go. This might be a record breaker. I know we probably had some 120s, 130s in our lives here doing this show, but 115, 116 is pretty strong for mid-May.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So, you know what? It's more because neither of us had meetings we had to get to.
Yeah, partly that.
Recording.
Lots to talk about.
That was part of it. There's a lot to talk about. Anyway, that'll do it for us here on Phightin Words. As always, you can find Phightin Words wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, anywhere that has Phightin Words. Just look for us, find us there, and you'll be able to get it. But the best place right here on YouTube. Subscribe to Phightin Words. Click that thumbs up. Ring that bell. That way, it helps the show get visibility, and you will always be reminded whenever Bob and I are going to go live and talk about your Phightin Phillies. And if you're listening in the podcast feed, you want to find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Phightin Words. For Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony Sanfilippo saying, have a great week, everyone. Stay cool for the next few days. It's going to be cool this weekend. Memorial Day weekend is going to suck, but the next 3 days, it's going to feel like the middle of August. So stay cool over the next few days and have a great week, and we'll talk to you on Friday.